85% of Americans agree you should show proof of citizenship to register to vote, and they only want Americans voting in American elections. Democrats and Republicans agree on this.
Keeping our republic is on the line, and it requires patriots with great passion, dedication, and eternal vigilance to preserve our freedoms. Jenny Beth Martin is the co-founder of Tea Party Patriots. She is an author, a filmmaker, and one of Time Magazine's most influential people in the world. But the title she is most proud of is mom to her boy-girl twins. She has been at the forefront, fighting to protect America's core principles for more than a decade. Welcome to the Jenny Beth Show.
Today, I'm joined by Andy Roth, who is the president of the State Freedom Caucus Network, and we're going to be talking about only citizens voting. Thanks so much for joining me today, Andy.
Thanks for having me, Jenny Beth.
So your group is doing some amazing work at the state level when it comes to ensuring that only citizens vote in our elections. Tell us about that.
So for people that don't know about the State Freedom Caucus Network, basically we are the farm team for the House Freedom Caucus in D.C. The House Freedom Caucus is the conservative North Star in Congress, but the states don't have that. And as we saw with COVID, with non-citizens voting, there are a lot of state issues that impact people directly, like very, very directly. And most people don't know who their state rep or their state senator is. But there are a lot of lawmakers, conservative lawmakers in the state capitals who all they need to do is get organized and focused, and they can fight for our freedoms and our values. And they don't, before we had the network, they didn't have those resources. So that's why we created the network. Right now, we're in 13 states. We started in Georgia. It was our first one.
Charlie's Bird.
Yeah, Charlie's Bird, Colton Moore. And then the most recent one was Maryland. So we're not just in red states. Right. The goal is to get into all 50 states. So we're in 13, and we want to get into all 50. But we've had enormous success on all sorts of issues. But when it comes to non-citizen voting, I think it's been one of our crown jewels. In Wyoming, our Wyoming Freedom Caucus took over the state house. They passed a bill to ban non-citizens from voting. The left, predictably, filed a lawsuit saying that it was unconstitutional. And just yesterday, a judge struck that down, saying that they don't have any standing, because what are you going to do? Get an illegal to claim as your plaintiff to say that they deserve to vote? So that's a success. Our Missouri Freedom Caucus was able to put it on the ballot in 2024. That passed. So only citizens can vote in Missouri. We did it in Arizona, we did it in South Carolina, we did it in Louisiana. The one problem that we had, and we're going to tackle this again, is in Montana. Montana's a red state. You would think that this would be easy, but a dirty little secret that not a lot of people know is that if you are a liberal that supports non-citizens voting in our elections, and you want to run for the state legislature in a red state like Montana, you don't put a D after your name. Right. You put an R after your name. And then you get elected and vote like a liberal. And so our Montana Freedom Caucus called for a special session for one specific purpose: to ban non-citizens from voting in their elections. And the way special sessions work in Montana is that the entire legislature has to vote to say whether they want this special session or not. And in a Republican supermajority in Montana, they said they did not want to do that, despite the Montana Freedom Caucus pushing it. And the reason why is because a lot of Republicans in Montana are Democrats. They just have an R after their name. But the silver lining is that the Montana Freedom Caucus has made everybody in that state aware of what happened. And they even have called them the Nasty Nine. There are 9 state senators. And they got the state Republican Party to censure the Nasty Nine. And they have even said that they can no longer be called Republicans.
Wow.
In the press or identified as Republicans. So we've outed the bad guys, and there's the dirty dozen in the state house. So the Nasty Nine in the state Senate, the dirty dozen in the state house. We've exposed them. So now all we have to do is either defeat them in the elections next year or just make it incredibly painful for them to vote against us the next time we bring it up.
Well, it doesn't make sense that even if they are liberal in Montana, or even if it's a Democrat,
you would think
this is an 85% issue.
Yeah.
Like 85% of Americans agree you should show proof of citizenship to register to vote. And they only want Americans voting in American elections. This is Democrats and Republicans agree on this. So you would think even if they are liberal, they'd want to vote for it.
You would think, and this is why what you're doing is so valuable, is that it requires education. Because if the liberal Republicans or the Democrats don't hear about it, their instinct is to just follow the marching orders of what their leadership tells them to do. And right now, the leadership in the Democrat Party is saying we have to oppose this, and that trickles down from D.C. into Montana and all of the 50 states. And so I think what we need to do, and what I think we're successfully doing, is we just need to educate the voters more about what's happening. And even though we did lose in Montana, we did expose them. So it's working. We just have to do more of it.
Yeah, and we have to go back and try again in Montana, but it's very important. And I think there were 5 members, Democrat members of the United States House of Representatives, who voted for the SAVE Act, or at least voted for it the first time it went up. And they should be applauded and thanked for doing that.
Agreed.
Like, I think it's very important, and we forget this all too often in politics, that when you can find an issue that you agree on, even if you don't agree in the party, then you work together on that issue. And then you work together on other issues or work against the issue. Like, I think it's just very important to keep it issue focused rather than people focused.
I totally agree. And the one thing that I would say is that if you don't know who your state rep is or your state senator, find out. Because even if they are a Democrat, you need to know who they are and make sure that they understand this issue. And I think what we're doing as a coalition is absolutely valuable to that point.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. And in fact, when your state rep should know you. Like,
yeah.
I understand that they represent sometimes 10 or 20,000 people, maybe even
less.
Yeah, it may be more, it may be less. But if it's 10 or 20,000 people, that's not, they should basically know most of the people in their district, and they should be going and knocking on doors and getting to know the people when they're running. And then you should be able to get their cell phone and reach out to them. Don't abuse it, of course, and always be polite and respectful, but have conversations with them about issues that matter to you.
No, that's exactly right. State reps and state senators are very accessible because they aren't professional politicians. If you call a congressional office, you hope that the office hears your voice, but they're getting, hundreds and thousands of other people calling in as well. A state rep, if they get like 10 calls from their constituents, they're actually going to listen and respond. And state senators the same way. It's underappreciated how accessible that they are.
Yeah, and there are people oftentimes who you wind up seeing at the grocery store or at other events. In fact, Charlize, who is a friend of ours, we were doing a retirement party for one of my employees who recently retired. And she ran into somebody else at the grocery store and invited her to come to the retirement party. So like you actually, it's true that you'll meet them just going about your daily life because that's how accessible they are.
Yeah.
Unlike congressmen who are in Washington, D.C. and they're only home for the weekends and their appointments are normally booked even when they're home.
State lawmakers are part-time legislators. I mean, they're citizen legislators. They have full-time jobs, they have families, but when they're in session in the legislature, it is very easy to reach out to them, email, phone, whatever, and say, hey, this is a very important thing for me. I hope that you're mindful of it. And they'll respond.
Yeah, it's amazing. So in the seats, like you need to go back in Montana and do more work there.
Correct.
What are the other seats where there may be more work to do at the state level for only citizen voting?
Well, basically all the states, except for the ones that I previously mentioned. But we've got great opportunities in South Dakota. We've got Idaho. There's Oklahoma. There are a ton of states, and we're only in 13. So there are 37 other states that need to pay attention to this. And we're hopeful that we can get into states like Kentucky, Texas, Florida, Ohio soon. But the key here is just reach out to your state rep, your state senator, wherever you live, and make them aware of it. And if enough people call, then they'll make it a priority in January when it comes up again, because all the state legislatures typically meet in January. Some only are in session for a month, sometimes 2 months. It's very rare for a state legislature to go longer than 4 or 5 months. So the window of opportunity for us right now is January, in the winter and the early spring for us to do something. And the other thing is it's an election year. So this is a great issue for state lawmakers to talk about before they enter into their primaries.
Yeah, that's very true. And so catching them in the late summer and fall gets them ready to take that action in the winter months. Now, one other thing that your group did, you did a letter, right, in support of the SAVE Act?
Yeah, so basically we have, like I said, 13 state freedom caucuses, and that is made up of 200 state lawmakers, state reps, state senators. They basically quarterbacked the letter, and it basically said, we are state lawmakers and we are urging Congress to pass the SAVE Act. And not only did our 200 members sign it, but we encouraged all other lawmakers to sign it as well. Interestingly enough, out of the 50 states, there are approximately 7,500 state lawmakers.
Wow.
And we got 1,100 of them to sign the letter, which is 1 out of 7. So we've got a lot of work to go. But 1 out of 7 lawmakers in the country signing this, when not a lot of people know who their state rep or their state senator is. A lot of people don't know this issue. I think it was a testament to how important this is that we got that many people to sign the letter.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, members of Congress, they do listen to their constituents, but they also listen to their state reps too.
Right.
Because those state reps represent constituents. And so when you hear state lawmakers talking on behalf of their constituents to their member of Congress saying, please pass the SAVE Act, I think it's very powerful. So what we were able to do with that letter, I think is fantastic. And frankly, every state lawmaker in the country should sign it, all 7,500 of them.
Absolutely. They should. Yeah. So maybe we can get more to sign the letter as we're going through on the bus tour.
Yes.
As well as getting individual citizens to sign the petition supporting the SAVE Act.
Amen.
That would be a good secondary call to action for us.
Yeah.
I think we just added something to our list. Well, and then your group, the State Freedom Caucus Network, is going to participate on the bus tour, the only Citizens Vote bus tour, to help make sure that we're bringing awareness to the issue, trying to get the SAVE Act attached to must-pass legislation in D.C.
Yeah, and the time window is short, and I kind of like that because the members of Congress are going to be back home during the bus tour. The tour is going to stop off in several of our Freedom Caucus states like Arizona, Louisiana, Maryland, South Carolina. Our state lawmakers are going to participate. They're going to help rally the voters. We're going to help energize the public about what's going on. I think it's fantastic. I think the timing's perfect, and I think we can do it.
Very good. Well, I'm so thankful that you're going to participate in it. I love the work that you guys are doing on the state, on the citizen-only voting issue.
Yeah.
And maybe in the next few months we can come back on and talk about other issues that you guys are working on, so that we can find areas where activists can get involved there.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Andy.
Thanks for having me.
The Jenny Beth Show is hosted by Jenny Beth Martin, produced by Kevin Mooneyhan, and directed by Luke Livingston. The Jenny Beth Show is a production of Tea Party Patriots Action. For more information, visit teapartypatriots.org.
If If you like this episode, let me know by hitting the like button or leaving a comment or a 5-star review. And if you want to be the first to know every time we drop a new episode, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for whichever platform you're listening on. If you do these simple things, it will help the podcast grow, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.